A winning Sunday for the Houston Texans. In fact, they've had a lot of winning weeks. Now 6 victories in a row. Jason Bristol, Zack Tawatari, as always, we are in the KHO 11 newsroom to break down this one. A 40-20 win over the Arizona Cardinals. Your instant reaction from what you saw on Sunday.
They took care of business, and that is huge for this team that failed to do that in the first half of the season.
Yep.
So,
of course, we're always looking for our one word, as we are also waiting to hear from DeMeco Ryans and C.J. Stroud. As you can see, there's the podium at NRG Stadium. We will be hearing from them momentarily. Justin is already weighing in. Jackie's on. Justin says, my word is... Man, great minds think alike, because this is what I was going to go with as well.
That's a good one.
Expected. Justin says expected. I expected them to win this game, even though this could have been a trap game. Yeah, I agree. These Cardinals are like the NFC's Tennessee Titans.
Yes. Just like the Tennessee Titans, actually.
But the way they came out and getting that touchdown less than a minute in, that was huge. I really thought that was huge, because you're just squashing hope.
Yes.
You're turning the Cardinals into birdseed, their hopes. And that was a situation where they needed that. And then, of course, you get the forced fumble on the ensuing kickoff. Granted, you only got them 3. It only led to 3 points, but you build a 10-0 lead that early in the game, and the Texans are feeling good. And the Cardinals, I would imagine, are saying, here we go again.
I loved seeing them score points in the first quarter, because leading into this game this week on KHOU 11, we were talking about the fact that the Texans they were really bad in first quarter and third quarter scoring, getting off to those good starts in the odd quarters. So it was really nice to see them finally get ahead, stay ahead, win convincingly. That's why my word is fitting.
Nice.
And this week it's positive.
That's true. But again, this team has now won 6 in a row. So give this group credit. And you are looking at a coach who I would imagine should pick up some votes for Coach of the Year.
Has to.
I imagine Mike Vrabel would probably be the guy right now leading the way. But it's a situation where, when you consider how this team started and now, is it on cruise control? I don't know if this group, given the offense it has, could ever be on cruise control.
Yeah.
But the defense continues to do its thing.
Yeah, I don't think that this team can just show up and win based on talent, because they're not that deep on offense overall. Still. I mean, you saw a couple explosive plays, but they still aren't running the ball super efficiently, although they, again, did get some big plays today out of the backfield. But it's not a team that's just going to show up and blow the doors off of people. But what I loved seeing today was just the Texans playing a complete overall game. They had a little bit of everything. They didn't necessarily need to keep scoring touchdowns, although they did score more touchdowns today than we've seen them score in recent memory. And to get 40 points, even if it is against a bad team, doing what you're supposed to do can't be stressed enough.
Karen is weighing in with the word sensational. While you were talking, I was writing. Justin says they could have rested Woody Marks the entire game, the whole game. Jawar Jordan got his opportunity. 100 yards in his first game, without a doubt. Woody is so beat up, rest the guy already. Unfortunately, they are not in a position to do that because of this offense. He is so much, I think, of what they do offensively that I don't think you can rest him. They were able to rest him in this game, but the theory of holding him out a game, I just don't think that's going to happen.
They're not going to be able to do that until it comes down to maybe week 18, depending on where things are.
Sure.
Depending on where they want to be and where things are. They may have the opportunity to do that. But it is a good point, right? Because we've seen them struggle in the run game throughout this season, and going into these last couple games and potentially even into the playoffs, it's like, who are you going to have in that backfield? And that picture starts to become very important as you're trying to figure out what your game plan is going to be, and if you can be more of a balanced attack.
Without a doubt. 40-20 is the final score. We are breaking down this one as we also await to hear from DeMeco Ryans and C.J. Stroud from the podium. Some of the stats. The stats, this is not going to help the Texans' defensive numbers because Arizona ended up with 307 yards of offense. The Texans had 399. Was that a flash there? Did I just see
I'm not
that?
sure what that was.
Okay.
I don't know if that was
Anyways.
a reflection, maybe?
Anyways, total drives for the Texans, 11. The Cardinals, 10. Passing first downs, 14-13 in favor of the Cardinals. But really the stats are these, the ones that count the most. Total yards, Texans won that battle, 399-307. Your rushing yards, the Texans 143-72. Penalties, 5 for 40 for the Texans, just 2 of 34, or 434 for the Cardinals. Red zone, Texans were 3 of 6, Cardinals 2 of 3. And then the time of possession, 32 minutes, 18 seconds for the Texans, 27 minutes, 42 seconds for the Arizona Cardinals. Man, that Trey McBride for the Cardinals, woo!
He's a heck of a player.
Give me that guy.
Yeah.
Every single day of the week. CJ, 22 of 29, 260 yards, 3 touchdowns. Jacoby Brissett, 27 of 40 for 3 touchdowns, 1 pick. Jawar Jordan, 101 yards rushing on 15 carries. It's a good day. It's a good day.
Love seeing that 3 of 6 in the red zone.
Yeah.
Because in the first half of the season, that was like 1 of 6. And you're looking at a difference of 14 points, which would have potentially made this game, 26-20. And you see how much of a difference it makes at the end of the game to where you're not coming down to the final possession.
Steven checking in. Good to see you, Steven. He says cruising.
Cruising's a good one.
Yeah, they are cruising.
Cruising's
they were
a good
cruising
one.
in this one. Justin says, do you think Bullock should have Pro Bowl consideration? He has been a madman. Before we get to that, let's go now to DeMeco Ryans, who's at the podium.
How's our team to do? Just continue to believe, continue to fight through any battle, any adversity we've faced, and continue to come out on top. So we're really proud of our guys, proud of our coaches, our team for coming out today, playing true complementary football, handling this game the proper way, and finishing how we know how to finish.
What do you think about Jordan's performance and how how the running game really helped elevate you all on offense?
Jawar did an outstanding job for us, for the young man to come in and for his first game to have a debut like he had. I mean, of course, he broke a record, most yards as a Texan in a debut game. He ran the ball very, very well, efficient, showed the explosiveness, showed the speed that he has and that we've seen in practice and he's been on practice squad for us. It just shows again, like, whenever your number is called, are you ready for that opportunity? And no one knows until you get that moment. And it's about you taking advantage of that moment and not looking back. And I thought Jawar handled it very well.
How rare is it for a guy to kind of go off the practice squad and make that much of an impact the first time to elevate it and put on to the field and ask to make some plays?
Yeah, there are a ton of guys in this league that have made it, right, being undrafted, practice squad, and when they get their opportunity, like they make the most of it and they don't look back. I mean, I just look at Aziz, and he was a guy who was, undrafted, right, and he found a way to break into the league and become a starter just when he was given the opportunity. Like, he did an outstanding job of it. And Jawar, just taking advantage of what you've been given. You never know how guys will respond, but we've seen flashes of it in practice. For him to come out and do it today, it was really, really cool to see, and really proud of him for just staying the course. It's easy to get discouraged. Like, when you're not getting called up, it's easy to get discouraged. But I think he's handled himself the right way every week, and he's taken advantage of it today.
DeMeco, could you please explain? I thought, at least from my perspective, maybe, and you had a closer view, when they said Blake did not report as eligible, because I thought I saw him walk up to Cleat, do the motion, and they went through a whole play, and then also we come back and said number 57 did not report, and I'm sitting there trying to understand, when did he not report? Because I saw him go up to him. Could you explain, or what did Cleat tell you after the play?
Thank you for seeing that. No, Blake has done a great job of reporting every time that he's went into the game, and I think he does it every day in practice. He's looking back at me reporting. He's looking back when we do have a practice officials at the game in practice. He looks back at those guys. He makes sure he reports every single time. So not quite sure what happened there, but it's something we'll just look at and make sure we're on it every single time to make sure we're looking to receive the referee in the eye, making sure we have the proper eye contact and making sure he sees that we're reporting eligible.
DeMeco, can you talk about what's working for the offensive line? I mean, obviously you talk about Jordan, but it all starts up front. What are they doing right, and is this group just getting more comfortable being together?
Yeah, I'll have to go back and look at the film, but from my vantage point, it looked like we were finishing blocks a little bit better today. Still always room to clean some things up, but for the most part, I thought we finished better. Therefore, we were able to have, I think, a better average in the run game today.
Maybe just ask you about Blake Fisher, but overall, we talked earlier in the week and in previous weeks about the offensive operation being cleaner and the sense of urgency. Just curious from your vantage point how that, obviously you guys scored 40 points. There was still a little bit left out there on in the red zone, but you guys obviously were productive. What did you see in terms of the operation and how clean you guys were there?
Our operation was really great today. CJ, starting with CJ, I thought he did a great job of managing the operation, pre-snap, in and out of the huddle. Like, he did an outstanding job today. It starts with him. It starts with Kaylee getting the calls in, going to CJ. I thought the communication was seamless. I thought the guys did a great job communicating, breaking the huddle, getting lined up. And that, that's low-hanging fruit for us, right? And we did a better job of improving that. And now we got to find a way to still finish. There's still some things that we left out there, not only on the offensive side, but on the defensive side as well. We left a lot of plays out there that we just have to keep playing up to our standard, right? And that's all. That's what we judge ourselves against, the standard. The standard is a standard. It doesn't change. So we'll continue to look at the tape intently to see where we can get better. I do want to compliment our special teams. Thought for Jamal Hill, the way he came out on kickoff and really set the tone for our special teams unit, that's what we needed. We needed that big play. One of our keys to victory was taking the ball on special teams. He comes out and he does that. So it was great to see him make an impact play there. And also for our just blocking unit, all the guys did a great job of blocking, allowing Jay Noel to hit some explosive returns. Something we've been missing a lot in our return game. We've been one guy away. And I felt like we did a great job of sustaining our blocks today. And when we do it the right way and we do it well, we have an explosive returner that can flip the field for us. So really proud of our special teams. Not only them, Tommy did an outstanding job punting the football, giving us a backed up op. We're able to go 3 and out there late in the game and capitalize with points. So it's beautiful to see it done the right way. So really proud of everybody.
Touchdown, was that purposeful?
Of course, it was designed perfectly ran play. Right, we wanted to snap it right back to Woody. No, yeah, we got to put that one in. No, it's sometimes the ball has to bounce your way a little bit there, a little miscue there with Jake and CJ, and Woody very heads up play to be able to just get on the ball, press forward, and get in the end zone. Not how you draw it up, but sometimes when things are going your way, you need some plays like that to happen. And so I'm happy we were able to get on the ball, most importantly.
And one other, Woody obviously didn't play in the second half. Was that more out of precaution, or is there a concern that y'all have to wait?
Yeah, Woody could have came back in the game, but for where he was, he got his ankle tweaked a little bit there early in the game. So for where he was, felt like Jawar, all right, and Dare were doing a really good job. So wanted to just keep rolling with those guys and make sure Woody, is good as we continue to go into the week.
Coach, you talked about the offense. It was a collective effort today. 140 on the ground, C.J. Stroud, no interception, offensive line, clean game from that unit. But 8 different receivers touched the ball today. C.J. did a good job of spreading the ball out, stepping up in the pocket to make plays, extended plays. Was that a part of the game plan this week to make sure everybody kind of touched the ball? Or from your view, what were some of the things that C.J. Stroud did today to help the offense score points?
And CJ played very clean, efficient game. I thought he did what I'm most proud of him is I think he did a great job of just his decision making. When it comes to the plays, it's not that he's just looking or staring at one person. He's going through his progression the right way, and you'll see multiple guys catch the ball and make plays because he's not just eyeing in on one single target. He's going where the play dictates for him to go, what the coverage tells him. He's making the right decisions, and that's where he's grown. He's improved a lot, and I'm excited to see him. Like, since he's come back, each week he's gotten better each week, and so probably the best game he's had this year, right? Our entire offense done a great job protecting the ball. We have to continue to do that, protect the ball, and on defense, special teams, take the ball away, we get opportunities, and that's how you go out and win games.
DeMeco, I just wanted to ask you about your interior defensive linemen. I know your edge guys get a lot of attention. We've asked you about them before, but could you just talk about how they complement each other, just across the board, the interior guys with your outside guys, so everybody else knows?
Yeah, our defense doesn't go without our interior guys playing big for us, right? Starting with Rankins, Tommy, like they do an outstanding job. Rio steps in. Like, we roll those guys a lot, try to keep them as fresh as possible, and they do a great job. We understand we have some difficult run schemes that we'll see, a lot of gap run schemes that people try to attack us with, and those guys do an outstanding job playing with awareness, but also still playing physical, right? Getting after it, condensing the pocket, allowing our edge rushers to do what they do, right, and really swarm on the edges. But we can't play great defense without those guys up front. So I thought, Coach Rod has done a great job, working with that entire D-line, and really hats off to the interior guys where it's grimy, it's tough on the inside. They don't get a lot of love, but they are the most important piece for us.
This was one of the more balanced performances on offense, and largely because the running game played really well. Do you feel like that may be the key to you all really unlocking the potential that y'all have on offense?
The run game is always the key for me. It's like we were able to execute it better today, but that's always the key going in. Like, you have to be able to run the football really well, no matter who you're playing against, no matter where you're playing. So to see it, like, show up today, hopefully the guys understand that's the formula. We just have to stick with it.
DeMeco, I know the balanced offense attack is good, but can you just talk about Nico Collins making another milestone, 30 in a row, 1,000 yards, what he means to this team and this offense?
That's a big playmaker. Nico is unstoppable. I mean, he does a great job. Anytime the ball is in his vicinity, like I know he's some type of way he's coming down with the football. He a guy who doesn't say much, but he's had an outstanding year again. Like, and we're not even done. And then he's, eclipsed that 1,000-yard mark again. I was just proud of him for how he shows up, the consistency at which he operates with every single week, the joy that he brings and shows up with, the smile, the energy on his, like, it's unmatched. So you love to see a guy like that doing well. All right, he's not able to do that without C.J. Him finding that connection. So they've done a really great job, and we got one call back on one of his biggest plays. I hate that for him, but he shows up no matter what the coverage is, no matter who he's up against. He's always going to show up big for us in any game.
6 wins in a row. What is just your overall thoughts on how you guys have been able to win 6 games in a row and position you guys yourself to be able to potentially win the AFC South? Things keep going well.
Yeah, for me, I know you guys don't want to hear this. I didn't even know it was 6 in a row until you just told me. No, it's that one game at a time mentality, man. I know nobody wants to hear it, but that's what I believe. That's all what we can control is one game at a time. Come out, handle business, right, each week. That's what we have to keep doing down the stretch here. We got to go out, handle business. I told our guys, you go out, handle business each week, then you're just putting yourself in a better spot. So you just keep going out, controlling what we can control, not really focused on, all right, what everyone else in the AFC is doing. Focus on the Texans. Focus on, stepping your game up and playing better. All right, thank you, guys.
And there he is, DeMeco Ryans from the press room at NRG Stadium. Lots of expected answers to those questions, I would say.
You really think DeMeco didn't know they won 6 in a row?
I don't know. I'd have to go back and look and see.
I don't know.
how some of the Texans content when they're introducing him
Yeah.
on the radio show, I got to believe that 5 in a row has come up at some point.
I would imagine. I would think. Maybe not, but
Maybe not.
who knows?
Also, he talked about running the football. He always believes that's a key. Speaking of Texans content, a few weeks ago, there was video, maybe a month ago, of DeMeco telling Cole Popovich, I think, run the football.
Yeah.
We got to run the football. So that's no secret. He also mentioned the play that Woody Marks took off like Superman after the botch snap. And maybe they should run that play more often because that actually works at the 1 yard line inside the 5. So maybe they should run that again.
It's less of a direct route. You kind of go back and then.
Well, it does.
And then
You talk about
throw off the timing.
throwing off the defense, like, oh, ball's on the ground. Anyhow, Bonnie's checking in, saying congratulations, Texans, and of course we are still waiting for C.J. Stroud. We are on Facebook taking your comments, so if you're watching on YouTube, head on over to the KHO 11 News Facebook page, and we will read your comments about this win.
I'd love to hear what people who are watching are thinking about how C.J. Stroud's been playing over these last couple of weeks. I was at a restaurant this week, and somebody was talking to me about C.J. Stroud versus Davis Mills, which you know what I think about this topic.
Yeah.
There is no discussion about who's a better quarterback, who's a more fitting quarterback, and who gives the Texans the best chance to win. But these last couple weeks, what I've seen with C.J. is a good mix of being off book and in the pocket. And I think that last year the struggle was more in the pocket than it was in year one. Because year one, right, was so many busted plays, and he was just doing these incredible things out of the pocket. He's always been very good, very, very good out of the pocket. But I think that he has kind of gone through this evolution. He talked about it last week or the week before that when he was out, it gave him kind of a bird's eye view of what was going on with this offense, and that allowed him, he thinks, to improve when he came back. And he certainly looks it. He looks a lot more comfortable, and I have really loved seeing that mix from him because I think that is what was missing from the Texans earlier this season and a little bit last season as well.
It's interesting, though, and this isn't directed at CJ, just generally speaking, they watch so much film. So I guess real time versus film study and making that a difference between when he was playing and not playing, or any quarterback for that matter, seems interesting to me. That I would be curious to ask. I wouldn't probably ask it in a press conference setting because there's other things to talk about.
Right.
But what is the difference between watching something in real time, and it's not like he's getting a bird's eye view either. He's on the sidelines. Now, he was watching some, I imagine, on TV because he was in the protocol. But that is interesting about watching real time and then also watching from the film study and what the difference, how can you make how you can make an improvements from one thing rather than the other. But for now, here's C.J. Stroud at the podium. Let's listen.
You guys had today to be able to run the ball, and then you got so many receivers involved, and then also just to follow up about Nico getting his third season in a row with 1,000 yards.
I think, that was a goal of ours, coming out the KC week, is just, not leaving anything out there, in the run or pass game. And I think, in practice, we communicated a bunch, and then it went to the game, and it went over to the game, and we executed at a high level. So I think it goes back to our preparation. I thought we did a good job of that. And, I'm just super proud of Nico. It's my brother, man. I missed him on a couple out there. I owe him a couple more, but I'm just really proud of him and, the work he's put in on his body, on his game, and I think, he's one of the best in the league and it's proven every year. So let's keep this streak going.
How do you feel about how you guys are playing overall this long winning streak, and now y'all are in the thick of the playoff race?
Yeah, I think, like we started off a little rough, of course, and then, you want to be playing your best ball in December, going in January, and I think, since we're doing that, it's really good. But there's always things to improve on, and, we left a little bit out there, but I feel, like we got better than we did last week, better from the last week, and every week we just keep progressing. I think that's all we can do right now. Yeah, man, Draw's my dog, somebody, who I got to see come in and, put in work and been making plays for a long time at practice and camp, in preseason games. And, he gets a shot today, and I thought he took full advantage. He's a brother in Christ, and, I know he was relying on the Lord. And, I'm just super proud of him and, his ability, to make cuts and, set up blocks. I thought he did a great job, and he's super fast. So I tried to get out there on one of them and block for him, and he a little too fast for me. But I thought he did amazing today. I'm super proud of him.
How important do you think it is for you all to sustain the type of run game that you all had today, for you all to be as successful as y'all want to be offensively?
Yeah, I think it's super important. We got to always, establish a line of scrimmage. That makes, the play action game and, the boot game a little easier, and then drawback pass as well. So, that's always a key to victory for us is being able to run the ball, and it was one today, and I thought we did a good job of it.
C.J., I want to ask you a moment ago about DeMeco, but they caught y'all, speaking after they showed the graphic of him through the 3 years and the 1,000 yards. Just curious on if you could share a little bit of that moment. We saw you on the sideline celebrating, and then also the how clean the operation was. DeMeco was here talking about that, and that's something that we talked about during the week. What did you think about how clean you guys operated today?
Yeah, I think, me and Neek, we've been together for 3 years now, and somebody who I've seen work, like I said before, and just, done a great job, being a leader. He stepped up, captain this year. To see his work pay off a little bit, is amazing and it's dope. So super proud of him in that. We just, showing each other love and like we always do. But, and then, our operation, something that Coach challenged us on this week, and that starts with me. And so I just got to be able to communicate in the huddle the right way and, do the right things to get us in the right position. So, I'm really happy with how we did it today. Of course, got a couple penalties on it, so we got to figure that out. But, I thought overall we got better in that area.
You mentioned how Ron had always been making plays, especially in practice, training camp, preseason. Obviously, he gets his first shot. When you see him start to make plays, rips off that 50-yard run, what is it like watching that in the moment and being a part of that, watching that up close?
It's surreal, man. I think, for me, I'm not really surprised because I know how good he is, but I think even for him, just to see it, he can see it in his eyes pregame, and I'm like, man, I'm here with you every play. Like, I got your back. Whatever you need, man, you let me know. And, he didn't really ask me any questions. He knew all the plays. He was prepared, making the right cuts, making the right reads, being good in pass protection. So I thought he stepped up big for us, man. And, I'm just super proud of him, so, he's been a baller. I think he's going to keep going.
C.J., one of the things I asked Nico about was the offensive line. He said they finished blocks really well today. Can you just talk about the progression of the line that has really been coming together and from where you guys started, how you feel about that?
Yeah, I think, from where we were in the beginning to now, we got our guys who we going to roll with, pretty much the rest of the season. And I think, they're doing a good job communicating. I think it starts with Jake, and Titus, those guys, being the leaders up there. And then Trent, and Ed and Tay, applying force and, being really good in the run game and pass protection. So, everything, starts with them. I think they've answered the bell, these last couple of games and done a really good job. And we're never perfect, but I just ask for them to give effort. And I think, it's amazing, the effort I see, me extending plays and then being the first ones down there, helping me up. I remember all those things. So really appreciative of those guys.
Hey, C.J., I wonder if you could describe Woody Marks' touchdown, the snap kind of went between your legs. It seemed to be some confusion. What happened there?
None yet. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah, I think, I probably said gun in the huddle or something. And, I went under center, and I should have been in the gun. And then the ball snapped, and, Jake still thought I was, under center. So, in the gun. So, I put that on me. I got to, be able to communicate. But, at least we got in the zone.
When you get a throw like that to Nico early in the game and he houses it like that, obviously already go into the game pretty confident guy. What does that do for, to confidence and the swag going forward to kind of start the game like that? I think it was like the second play of the game.
Yeah, it's always big. That was a goal of ours, was to start fast. So, I thought, Nick did a great job of creating separation. Before the snap, I'm like, hey, man, stay alive right here. They a lot of situations in there, we knew where they were going man. So, he beat his man. I beat the help, and he, turned good into great.
Last two, Christian and DJ.
What excites you most about how well you guys are playing right now and what you're able to do as a team?
I think, just three phases of football, we're playing together. I think, offensively, we're getting better every week, getting hot. So I mean, we're getting hot at the right time. You know, we're trending up. You know, towards December, going into January. You know, we got to just keep this going. You know, it's going to be, you know, one game at a time mentality. You know, one play at a time mentality. You know, then we'll look up at the end of the year and see where we're at.
You mentioned earlier you guys started a little bit slow, but since then, obviously, you guys have been actually 9-2 since. From your perspective, what do you think is the biggest reason how you guys have been able to become one of the hottest teams in the league?
I think the finish. You know, I think look back at those games. You know, we were in the games, and there's always plays here and there that you want back. But I think at the end of the day, like when you got the ball or you need to stop, like we want to be the guys on the field. So. You know, I think the ability that we're finishing with now, you know, in these close games and, you know, in games like this, you know, take care of business when we need to. So for me, I think it's the finish, you know, and us, you know, playing hard every play all the way to the end and then, you know, pulling out the dub. All right. Thank you, guys. Have a good one.
And there is C.J. Stroud from NRG Stadium, assuming blame for the missed snap or the bad exchange at the goal line in which Woody Marks scored, but really it doesn't matter. It was a 40-20 win. It's all good.
I liked what he said about momentum because it's very important, right? In these past couple of seasons, the Texans haven't necessarily been hot going into the playoffs. This year, if that happens, that is absolutely going to be the case. They're going to be going in with a lot of momentum, and it's so important to peak at the right time. And I do feel like they're finding their footing at the right part of the season.
Justin says CJ's starting to have less fear of standing in the pocket. He used to abandon it too fast. I may actually disagree with you on that one, Justin, because I think really the common criticism of CJ was that he would hold the ball too long, that he stood in the pocket too long. He typically didn't want to leave the pocket because he is one of those guys that thinks that he can make a throw and make a play. And I think we've seen more criticism of him not taking off and running, that he perhaps needs to run more. So I'm going to respectfully disagree on that one.
To your point, you know, we were talking about before we went into the CJ sound there at the podium, you were talking about how is it that he may have seen things differently coming off of this concussion, right? When you watch so much tape, and in this instance, he's actually, you know, on the field level for a couple of games watching what's happening. And I do wonder if maybe he got some insight that you wouldn't get as the starting quarterback who starts every game with maybe just seeing the speed of how things happen a little bit differently, because it does happen differently on field level versus in film. You know, it might be the same time but look different, if that makes sense.
So your final is 40-20 right now, according to NFL.com. The Texans' playoff probability is 93%. 93%.
Pretty amazing.
Right now, our
Pretty
one word,
amazing.
We've got expected, sensational, cruising, and you had
fitting.
I think all of them are fitting for this
Fitting,
one.
yes.
I think all of them are fitting. All right, everybody, that's going to wrap up another post-game analysis. This time, similar to the last 5. It's now a 6-game winning streak for these Houston Texans.
Incredible.
It is.
Considering that 0-3 start.
No doubt about it. All right, everybody. Thank you, as always, for checking in, contributing, and telling us how you are feeling after a Texans game. For Zack Tawatari, I'm Jason Bristol. Thanks again for watching. Once again, your final score, Texans 40, Cardinals 20. We'll see you next time.